Let's rock and roll. So, Nick, it's been what, 2-3 weeks since we've been back here?
Yeah, man, it's been a few weeks. How are you?
I'm doing amazing, my friend. How
You
about
look well.
yourself?
You don't
Always.
look like you got a tan though.
Really?
No.
Maybe I'm just a bit hot and flustered
Yeah.
today.
Maybe you've been in cold countries,
I did fly back to London for a week.
but it was warm there as well, right?
I mean, it was warm one day and then it rained for the remaining
So at least
7
nothing's
days.
changed there.
Nothing's changed. You know, it's so funny. I went back because I thought, you know what, maybe I've been gone for almost a year. Let me see if the environment's changed a bit. And it's just everyone is in the same mindset of being sad, not happy. And then as soon as I come back here, everyone's smiling.
Well, we have a culture of complaining, right? We like to have a moan, we like to have a whinge about something. But the problem is the media keep whinging that much that they've almost doctrinated everyone to whinge with them. So that's the big problem.
Definitely.
There is no happy things going on. Like, I'll give you an example, right? When we go to a government office over here, they've called it a happiness center.
Yeah, they have.
Right? That's just me pulling one thread. And that changes the way you look at going to do your ID or change your driving license. They basically want to do it so quick and make it so efficient that you actually enjoy the experience. Like I went to get the blood test done, right? There's one at the back of our Waso.
For your Emirates ID stuff.
There's one center which you have to pay a little bit extra, right? Got little robots in there giving water, just moving around, and they make the experience. They've got valet parking directly outside. Your blood test is done in about 10 minutes, and you feel like, okay, that was quick.
Yeah, the level of service here is.
Have you done your driving license yet?
Everything. So I've got a motorbike and a car one, and I went in. They were like, "Yeah, it cost this much. Here you go." Within 10 minutes, I had my driving license. Obviously, it doesn't work like that for every country, but for most of them, they're happy to just exchange it.
I was so impressed by the way they switched our British driving license to the local driving license. Right,
so quick.
Eye test, click, go back. Okay, everything passed. Pay the money. Boom. And I think literally 10 minutes later, you've got your brand new printed driving license. Like, okay, this is cool.
This is how it should be. Do you know what? One thing I will say from coming from Dubai, because I've been here, I haven't left for like almost 8 months at one period. The level of service here and how everyone is friendly,
it's insane.
And we're kind of spoiled because when you go back to London, even though London is my home and I love it, I'm like, what is with this service? Everyone's miserable.
I just did European 3 weeks. A week in Paris.
Yeah. So tell me about your trip, because you went away to.
So yeah, let me tell you. So
from the last time you left, you were going to Zambia for the chat, and then I haven't seen you since. So fill me in from that time period. What you've been, where you've been going.
Zambia was a very closed door, just working on the technology that we want to implement into some of the organizations there.
Yeah.
I'll give you more details about that in the next couple of months.
Sure.
Blockchance 23 was an event we attended. I was one of the speakers. I also was on a panel. As a speaker, I talked about the tokenization of assets and why I believe the dollar is in trouble, why there should be better alternatives than some of the other stable coins out there like USDT, etc. And ultimately, any coin that is backed by the dollar is a problem, right? If the dollar is not credible, then how is that stable coin credible? And it all becomes like a domino effect.
Sure.
So that was one of the speaker roles I took, but I also had a panel discussion with Peter Schiff. Peter Schiff is probably one of the big gold bulls, if you want to call him
It's
that.
your big rival, Nick.
He's not a rival. He's actually on the same page. So,
Yeah.
he has a company, I believe, called Clinq.Gold, also an asset or a wealth manager.
Sure.
Pacific Wealth Management or whatever the company is. But the point is he does the same business, right? He supplies gold to mainly Americans, and likely the Bank of Bullion, we probably do 10 times as much because Dubai actually does much more volume. I can't see Clinq.Gold shifting anything more than, I don't know, I don't want to put a number on it, but we do 100 kg every day. So for us,
It's a lot of gold.
we do a lot more, I'm 100% certain, than any American sort of front shop business.
Yeah.
Because this is the Dubai is the gold, city of gold, right? So
mental.
what we do is probably 10 times, maybe 20 times more than what they do on a daily volume. But I don't think he was opposed to the tokenization of gold. I think he probably is on the same page, but one of his bugbears or the things that he always goes against and one of the things that the crypto industry, or certainly a lot of the degens and the younger population, are always giving him slack for is his view on Bitcoin.
What's his, just so the people know that watching
He believes
this for the first
Bitcoin
time.
is worthless. It'll go to zero at some point. It has no credibility. There's nothing behind it, and it's just your perception of value.
It's like a Ponzi scheme.
It's not a Ponzi scheme because it
For him, though, he views it like a Ponzi scheme.
It's not a Ponzi. It's a valuation of something that doesn't have anything behind it. Is his theory, right?
Sure.
But when we were on this panel discussion, there was one other lady, and she was quite vocal about being a BTC supporter, and yeah, she had an argument. But whenever I think he put across a good argument, all she did was jeer the crowd to say, "Oh, we support BTC." So, you're going to get a bunch of people, BTC, not actually answering any question.
Of course.
Which is, in my opinion, not a great way to conduct a panel. And, my view is very simple. BTC has played a pivotal role in educating people, or starting the education of what actually is blockchain. Because without BTC, most people wouldn't have even understood. And you talk cryptocurrency, the first word that comes out is Bitcoin. You talk stock market, people will say New York or Dow Jones or FTSE, just people's perceptions,
Nonsense
right?
stuff, yeah.
So it doesn't really make sense, but all it's done, it's opened the door for people to understand what is the blockchain. And now there's Ethereums and XRPs and whatever you want, the whole millions of things that's come after that. So it opened the doors. It helped people understand there was another way of conducting transactions, and it's done its job of educating people. So I'm not for or against BTC. I hold BTC. It's not a bad thing, and I'm see what this lady was arguing is it's a store of value, and she doesn't seem to understand because Peter's of an economic background, so am I, and no, it's not a store of value. It's an instrument for speculation. It's a speculative instrument for making money. It's not like a piece of cash or gold, which is
very different.
Which is a store of value for a different product. And I don't think she just understood. And she's a CEO of some big.
This is one of the other ladies on the panel, right?
Yeah, some exchange or some founder of an exchange. And I don't think she just understood and the reason was simple. She invested in 2016-17, and she obviously made a few quid out of it. So now, for her, BTC was a god. And what I didn't understand was, I was thinking to myself, well, I did that, but I did it before you. And I still understand the difference between store of value and a speculative product that made me tons of cash.
Yeah.
At least, if you're going to have an opinion, do your research, at least do your homework, be credible in what you're saying. And BTC can never, let's put it out there, it can't be a store of value. It can be a speculative instrument to make money like any stock or share because of its volatility. You can't control the volatility. And now what they've done is started to introduce ETFs. They've started to introduce higher leverages. You've got BlackRock trying to get in on the game. And
do you see this new article from BlackRock?
Absolutely. And all you're doing is creating more volatility, more players. So you're going to create a volatile situation. If your pound, euro, or dollar was doing 5-10% up and down on a daily basis, how would you even live? The price of bread goes up from $1 to $1.20 or £1 to £1.50 every day. You just can't live like that, can you? No. So people just need to understand BTC is amazing. Let's not forget that. It's a great thing that was invented, but it is a speculative instrument. It's to make money, not to store value, unless you're going to store it and not give a shit that your money's going to go down the drain. Potentially, I'm not saying it will. Or it can go up tenfold, like a horse race.
Well, that's any investment, any stock, any share. Obviously, crypto is more volatile because consumers have direct access to it.
It's a speculative instrument.
Definitely.
It's an instrument to make money. It's not a store of value. It's as simple as that.
Gold is a store of value.
Gold, silver, platinum,
metals.
precious metals. There's certain things that fall under that remit because of the less likelihood of volatility, because it's a physical commodity.
Yeah.
And that's another thing people don't understand. Because it's digital, right? Let's assume we can do an EMP all over the world. We can cut off electricity. Then what's your Bitcoin worth? Like I said, I've got a lot of money in there.
Yeah.
If an EMP goes off, some, Mr. Bad Boy, whatever he is, he decides to wreak havoc in the city of London.
Sure.
Stands there with a big EMP, block everything. All computers get wiped. All your seed words, unless you've written it on paper.
Yeah, sure.
You're gone. Then what?
Yeah.
You can't do that with gold.
Well, that's one of the reasons why someone said Bitcoin will never go to zero, because there's so much of it that's just been lost. People don't have access to it, which is kind of nice as well. So even though there is a lot of volatility, I don't think it's ever going to, I'm hearing a lot of talk at the moment, because we're trying to get past the 32K threshold, people are like, no, it's going to go back down to 5, 10K. I just don't think that's realistic, because you have to liquidate so much of the actual capital from Bitcoin.
If you do the math, how much is the valuation at 32K? It's about 800 trillion? I can't remember.
Yeah, but I think it's at 30,500 as we speak right now.
Forget the price. It's 29,000 right now.
29, okay.
So, there you see. But I just checked before we walked in. But I can't remember the capitalization.
Sure.
It's under $1 trillion.
Under
right
$1
now.
trillion.
Yeah. But if you look at it as a real whole world asset, $1 trillion ain't. It's
chump
not
change.
Chump change in this world. It's chump change in this world. And until that changes, then you got to have the capitalization has to be in the trillions for it to be actually worth more people holding.
Yeah, definitely.
Then the price would have to be 100, 200, 300, 400,000. And then when you have something like that, how do you quantify a holding of three? Because think about it logically. There's no share price that is valued at $100,000, $300,000 or $500 or $1 million.
Numbers on a screen at the moment.
It's numbers on the screen, right?
Yeah.
So then I don't know how it would work. Would it be like a stock where we have to have a stock split? Do they put a fork in the thing? I don't know. I'm just talking like, how does your brain?
You can't quantify the numbers. It doesn't make any sense.
If you holding one piece and it's worth $300,000. How are you going to do the maths every time you need to buy something? You've got to figure that out. You've got to split, because we do that in gold and it's complicated.
Sure.
And gold is not that volatile. This is moving at
every second.
Well, like gold does, but it's more volatile. So even to create a base behind it, you can have Bitcoin gold. Somebody tried that, by the way. And that's a solution, but it's not a real one, because ultimately, again, the volatility, whoever's holding the gold is susceptible to the volatility. So that's the problem.
So what's your thoughts while we're staying on crypto? You obviously saw the SEC with XRP.
Yeah.
What's been your view on that? Because that's been quite positive for XRP. It shot up from 50%, 60%, right?
More. It was around 50p, 50 cents, 55.
And then it hit very close to $1.
Almost. No, did it go at that? I thought it was in the 80s.
Hit 93, I believe.
Okay, so
and then it dropped obviously when people started liquidating. What's your view on XRP as a?
I like XRP.
Yeah,
I think XRP is great. I held XRP. I still have XRP. So I'm fortunate enough to make a little bit of cash on it. Unfortunately, I sold a proportion of it. Not even that long ago, about 3 months back, because I bought at mid 30s and it went to around 50 something, and I thought, okay. I caught it at a good price, not mid-30s, about 37, 38, and it went to around 52, 51. I thought, okay, whatever, man. Got some cash out of it.
Got some cash, take it out.
Yeah. And I left a small bit of chump change. But, I'm not surprised but I am surprised how long it will now take to get that ruling for everyone else to be judged as a non-security, because that's the main part, right? So now you have all these...
There's precedents for it now. Or you think it's going to be very difficult because...
See, the ruling on a security is easy. The problem is the SEC should not be the judge. And more importantly, it should not be the global judge of crypto, because the SEC, what gives SEC? Why is the Securities Exchange Commission
we had this
based in America?
Chat before.
Yeah,
I remember we had
Why
this.
should they be the global police of crypto? It should be every country agreeing the terms and conditions.
This is one of our first chats that we had on and who controls it and why they control it. It's got to be the countries, but then obviously every country's got their own agenda. And how do you sort of police it in a way that's fair? It's very difficult.
Not really, because we police stock markets. There's stock markets in every part of the world. So it's a very similar story. So every country should be able to have their own
I guess it's
agenda.
a good way to look at it.
Yeah, well, it is, right? The only difference between a stock or a stock market and crypto is crypto has no jurisdiction. So if you think about it, in New York Stock Exchange, it's only American companies or companies that are wanting to list, they can still have offshore subsidiaries. UK is the same, right? FTSE or Bombay Sensex. But the problem lies in the fact with the crypto, it's actually a global thing, and jurisdictions can be anywhere, and people can be trading from any direction. So that is where the problem lies. So you would need a global regulator.
Global regulator for crypto. I think it could happen. I don't think it's going to happen anytime soon because you've obviously got new cryptos. How do you try and police every new crypto that comes? Or do you have like a blanket policy for everything?
Well, like you have, like in any stock market, you have a junior index. You have the small cap index, like in UK it's AIM, or the pink sheets in America.
Penny stocks and stuff, yeah.
So you have the same system. You have a 3-tier system, right? You have the small cap, mid cap, and big caps. Finished.
Makes sense.
So you can probably do something like that, but then there's a secondary problem, because that means then what happens to all these little exchanges? Because the exchanges are independently run, right? And exchanges run by a country or a certain body. It's not run by the country. That doesn't work like that.
Yeah,
They have independent people, but that's kind of floating everything inside of that. So now these are like thousands. How many exchanges? That's thousands of exchanges.
There's lots. There's probably only about 20 to 30 that are actually reputable that you can
but there's
utilize.
thousands of exchanges, thousands, and there's hundreds of thousands of coins. So who's going to police to do what? Because now you're saying, well, you can't run an exchange unless it's run by a certain entity that is given the permission, I guess, by the government or whatever, and blah blah blah. Because then Binance would be the king, or the top 5 would then turn out to be one super Binance or something. But that doesn't even make sense. So this is if you think about it, the problem with the crypto is it's non-jurisdictional as an asset. Anyone can own it. Once you go onto a centralized exchange or a CEX, then your details become sort of known. Until then, you can trade offline if you really wanted to.
So what was wallets. Yes, it's an interesting. It's going to be interesting to see the future for XRP and the future for other coins. Obviously, you went to the Blockchance event. What was the conversation that you had in terms of the future for crypto? What was people's sort of general consensus? What was the information that you got from that event?
One of the key takeaways, I'd say, everyone agrees that a gold-backed stablecoin is the right thing to do. Nobody contested that it wasn't the right thing. There was a lot of people who are avid Bitcoin supporters. I met maybe 15, 20 of them. All of them said, look, man, what you're doing is good. It makes sense because, you need some sort of stability. We need a stable coin.
Sure.
And most people, I think, bar probably the very few people that are, diehard sort of USD followers and just, diehard Americans, I guess, will never want to see that the dollar is able to collapse. But time will tell.
I don't think we're very far off from it. There's a big shift changing. Even a lot of the Americans that I speak to, they're trying to move their money away from USDT or USD because they don't feel that it's a safe commodity anymore.
It's been going on for the last 6 to 12 months.
I'm starting to notice a big shift.
Not only that, but people seem to forget around every 80, 100 years, there is a change in the global reserve currency. And I think we've talked about this before. Right now there's a dollar. Before that there was the pound. And before that there was a Dutch guilder and whatever before that. But the point is simple. There is a shift in global reserve currency. And nobody's too big to fail. And, right now the BRICS are planning a gold-backed currency as well. So
I just read that book, Too Big to Fail. Have you read that?
No, I haven't.
Fantastic.
Who's the writer?
I can't remember the writer, but I'll bring the book for you next time we're here. An unbelievable book about that you're never too big to fail, which is exactly what you just said. Which I think is going to be. I think it's going to be very interesting to see what happens.
But the psychology of failure is simple, right? Because when you get too big, or when certain countries feel like, no, we are the superpower or we are the reserve currency of the world, their thought process or all of their money tends to be spent on one thing, and it's always the same thing. It's always trying to protect their position, and to protect their position, you need to spend specifically on one area, which is military spending. And when you get to a point where you're spending so much on the military more than you're earning, then slowly you're going to go down the same road as I think the Romans did the same thing, and not so much the British.
History always repeats itself, Nick, at some point. But before we sort of move on to the American war stuff, how is Clinq.Gold going?
Clinq.Gold is doing good. We've had a good injection of new impetus in terms of some of the developments we've had. We're still waiting on our Bank of Zambia license, which is pending, and we're hoping it should be done perhaps by the end of August. But one thing that we've attending in Zambia, which is the Digital Government of Africa Summit. So there's 40 plus ministers of finance, all high-level ministers of technology or finance that are attending the event. We're going to be there prominent. Obviously, the president of Zambia will be there. Likely should be. Hopefully, I should get my role a little bit after him and talk about the tokenization of gold. But more than the tokenization of gold, our goal in Africa is completely different. What we're doing in Africa is very simple. There is already a massive market in Africa, and currently we're just concentrating on Zambia and Kenya. Between the two countries, you're talking around 70 million people that use mobile money transactions. Now, for them, at the moment, it's a very simple system. It's just a mobile money payment like SMS payments we used to do back in the day. And the reason for this is a lot of the population were unbanked, as in they don't have IDs. So what we've done to a lot of this existing payment providers is we said, look, continue doing what you're doing, charge what you charge. We on the back end will run our API, will connect all your transactions on blockchain, which will obviously generate through our existing chain on Binance, driving the volume of Clinq.Gold token, which is all on-chain driven, and ultimately that buys more gold to store in the vault. So the idea is not to change the game. The idea is to make their payments secure and backed by gold. So it's simple as that. And it's been fingers crossed. It's been accepted really well in Zambia, very well in Kenya. So the doors are open now. It's just for us to make the performance and do what it takes to make them happy, and then spread across the rest of Africa.
Interesting. And where do you see, obviously Clinq.Gold is your baby, and you set it up because you saw there was a utility for it, and you saw there was something that needed to be fixed within the market. Where do you see Clinq.Gold within the next, let's say, 1 to 3 years and 3 to 5 years? Where do you envision it? Where do you obviously hope it goes?
So in terms of vaulting the gold, I'll give you an example. The Bank of Bullion, we do billions of dollars in turnover. So for us, and that's just a small market of Dubai pushing it out across the world. The way I see it, if we run the operation in the exact same manner, zero debt policy, and work in the same way we built the Bank of Bullion, we should have at least $1 billion within a couple of years in the vault, 3 to 5 in the next 2 to 3 years, and within 5 years we should be minimum 10. See, in gold, these numbers sound big.
They're not.
In our industry, it's actually very small. And if you put a comparison to some of the other stable coins out there, USDT, 50, 60 billion of issue of just dollars, and we don't know what they're putting their dollars in anyway, right? Treasuries or whatever.
I have no idea.
But this is just vaulted gold, and we had a couple of conversations with some funds as well. I won't mention them till it's all tied down, but just give you an idea. So if you're holding $1 billion worth of gold in the vault, the option for the fund or the client, say you put $1 million worth of Clinq.Gold tokens, you're now holding CGT in your wallet. We're just developing a separate system rather than put it into DeFi and all these things that perhaps you may not understand. So to make it simpler, we're just giving the option where we've got say a top 10 hedge fund or a VC hedge fund that will have or give you the option based on the contracts, based on your agreement, to switch that holding. So rather than just holding the CGT as a stable coin, you can actually unallocate it and invest it with one of the top hedge funds in the world. So your returns can go from just basically virtually just the price of gold or stability to actually earning an income from it. So
amazing.
Perhaps I don't know, one of the biggest hedge funds making 12 to 15% per annum.
Sure.
Probably.
Yeah.
Give or take. So that automatically will unlock that APY to you, and you'll get paid.
Well,
quarterly.
you're starting to earn interest, make your money work for you.
Yeah.
You're not having to do the rat race. Why do you think, obviously, the African countries like Kenya and Zambia are adopting this so quickly? Is it just really because they don't have like ID payments and they utilize SMS, or is it that you think they're actually thinking further ahead than most of the other sort of mainland countries?
It's probably a bit of both. The simple fact is there is an unbanked population, and unbanked means if there's no ID, there's no bank accounts. If there's no bank accounts, how do you make transactions? So for that reason, mobile money payments became very attractive, and it was adopted en masse because actually, once you look at it, it's very simple. So you can top up your phone with your credit card, debit card, or you can go to a kiosk and pay cash. So it's simple for anyone with or without a bank account, with or without ID, and suddenly now you can make payments in grocery stores, top up your phone, you can do anything, right? So the system is easy. And it's the same as what all of us have, like Samsung or Apple or Android Pay. It's the same tap and pay.
Same process.
The process is exactly the same,
And
and it makes life so easy.
Yeah, well,
And then what the governments have done, some of them have introduced like all the bills inside. So some of the telco operators have introduced all the, pay your bills, pay this, pay that. So all those small things have now
one place
got into it. And then on top of that, new layers have come, like renew your ID or apply for a driving license. So they got like Smart Zambia, they've started putting new facets in as well.
So do you think the next sort of steps is more parts of Africa, and then are you going to bring these payments to Dubai, or where do you envision the Clinq.Gold moving to?
We're opening separate divisions.
Divisions?
Yeah, we're opening, like in Zambia, we have a e-money institution license with the Bank of Zambia pending. But the idea is to open different offices in different countries. The payment or the front office will be run from there, but ultimately all the transactions go on chain anyway. So whether it's in Zambia, whether it's in Kenya or South Africa or wherever you go, the transactions are still happening on chain.
Sure.
Which gives governments the access to all that data that we have, so they can tax efficiently at source.
Sure.
They can then decide, once we provide the information and share that information, how they want to collate it, whether they want to ask for extra information to create IDs, and you can actually do a lot of things. So right now you have a wallet address which is this long, right? But on the payment
it's ridiculous.
system, you can just use your mobile number, and automatically it converts to an address, which converts into on-chain transactions backed by gold. So everything's a lot easier.
Perfect. Well, trying to streamline that process is obviously a great thing for governments, and obviously usability. Obviously, staying on the sort of crypto side, what's your view on what BlackRock are trying to start at the moment? Because obviously BlackRock's a very controversial topic because they're a company that owns pretty much everything that's out there. What's your view on how they're going down the crypto route?
It could be a double-edged sword. One, everyone thinks it's going to be a bullish move. And normally when everyone thinks it's bullish, it goes the opposite way. So they might be smart enough to put out the word that we're going to be doing this, and they've got approvals and blah, blah, which they will get anyway because it's the public information. But ultimately, if I'm a hedge fund, which they kind of are, which they are, how do you make money? You make money by doing the opposite of what the market does. So now the cat's out the bag. The whole world thinks BlackRock's going to buy a load of BTC and create the ETFs, and the volume's going to go crazy and blah, blah, blah. So they just sit back now based on their name, because they've got 10 trillion under management or whatever they have. They now have created that buying frenzy, and they just short the market. So now they can do the exact opposite,
probably
dump all their stock.
as well.
So they could buy whatever they're buying, small amounts and whatever, but they'll do exactly the opposite. They'll do exactly the opposite, and it will go all, in my opinion.
Sure.
They'll probably squeeze the whole market down, and then they'll pile in. And then they'll do it again, and they'll keep doing it at every cycle. So let it get it to 80. What was the last high? Whatever the last high. They'll let it peak above that, then crash. Peak above. So ultimately, it's about now controlling the BTC market. So if they come in as well, everyone's gone. Because ultimately, they'll do the opposite. They're not on They're going to be not only just the ETF holder, they'll also be the market maker, they'll also be the controller. So as a market maker, you only make money betting against the general public.
I think there were too many millionaires made too quickly within the last 5 years, and I think they're trying to make the adjustment anymore. I think the time of easy money from crypto is gone, and you need to be a little bit smarter with it. But I definitely get what you're saying, that they're most likely, if you look at how history repeats itself, they're probably going to get it to an all-time high, rinse the market, make $1 trillion, and then buy again. Because I still hear a lot of people saying crypto is going to go down to like 10, 15K, or the Bitcoin especially. And if BlackRock do it in a smart way, they're probably going to end up making a lot of money from it.
They'll do exactly the opposite. If they're a market maker, that's what their job is. Their job is to make you poor and make themselves rich. That's it. And they have enough cash and they have enough contacts, so it's easy for them to do.
Talking about big companies, move on to our good friend Elon Musk and his best friend Mark Zuckerberg. Have you obviously seen what's been going on with Threads? And
apart from Threads, I heard he won a jiu-jitsu competition, came first, got gold. That was shocking. I was shocked.
So good old Mark Zuckerberg, not trying to say he's ever stolen anything in his life from anyone. That wouldn't be in his nature. But there's a new app that's obviously come out, Threads. This is within the last couple of weeks. I'd say it's probably been about 3 weeks now since it came out. And it's very reminiscent of Twitter. So obviously you understand how Twitter works, and you tweet, you can post pictures, etc., etc. And obviously Mark's come out with his new and improved Threads, which I'm kind of happy it's kind of flopped because I think karma's, as the saying, karma's a bitch. And Elon now is trying to potentially sue Mark Zuckerberg because playing the game is obviously you need to be fair player, but cheating is never fair. And from my understanding of all the documents I've heard, Zuckerberg has taken a whole bunch of people from Twitter and created a similar app to try and rival him, because obviously Elon Musk is an innovator and he's transformed Twitter, I think, into probably one of the best apps out there on the market. I'm not sure your opinion on it. I know you use Twitter here and there.
We have,
but what's your
20,000 plus followers. So yeah, we use Twitter. But I like Twitter. And remember, post Musk's buyout or buy of Twitter, not buyout. It's changed, right? It's made it a little bit more efficient, got rid of some of the, sort of problems that it had with free speech and all the rest of it. Competition is good, no doubt. But the problem lies in the fact that he's very well known. It's going to be very difficult for somebody with a lot less personality like Mark Zuckerberg to take over and try and capitalize where this guy, like the other day, he tweeted a picture of... he tweeted a picture of Bill Gates, the big belly and something about being pregnant. He just does funny stuff, right?
He's a menace.
Yeah, he does
That's
funny.
why people love him, though.
Yeah, he does funny stuff and he doesn't care. So, and for I guess Mark Zuckerberg has become real competition because he's he's probably highly competitive, which he 100% is. He's an animal.
For sure.
Must be an animal. Inside he's burning, doesn't sleep, thinking, how do I outdo this guy? He just spent 40 billion on a company. Let me make his company flop by spending $1 billion and building a better one.
I don't think you could. Honestly, I'm really watching the complicated landscape that we're in of social media space. And I think for most, because I wouldn't say I'm left or right, I would say I'm up. I'm just sort of bang in the middle. I'm about free speech. But I don't think you can beat Elon at the moment because Instagram, Facebook, owned by the same person, they don't allow free speech. And one of Elon's things is his most important thing about everything is, irrespective of the paid sort of subscription stuff, is that free speech is allowed. That's why you're allowed so much amazing stuff on Twitter. And it's only been recently after Threads has obviously just come out. He's now decided to change the name to X because X is his favorite letter and X represents sort of everything, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah, I think the rebrand is going to be good. It's a shame that Bluebird always is very easy to recognize. I'm sure it's going to be a Blue X or whatever.
Yeah, for sure.
You'll get used to it eventually. I never got used to Meta after Facebook. Still don't.
Yeah.
But it's just one of
his
those
Meta
things.
thing kind of flopped. Obviously, I know Meta is a brand now, but he was doing the VR stuff. I think Elon is he reminds me of Lex Luthor. Do you ever? You're not sure whether he's good or bad, but he's sort of doing the things in the right way. You know?
Well, Lex Luthor was definitely bad.
Well, in the start, he looked like a good guy, right?
Well, yeah, depends how you look at it, but at least Elon Musk is original.
Definitely. He's creating new ideas, which is in this day and age is quite
Facebook's
hard.
strategy has always been to buy out companies, not create new things. So
This is the first app they've created to, obviously, Elon's ruffled some feathers, and it's been the first instance where they said, actually, crap, we need to create something new instead of buy something new.
So there's no doubt of his ability as a coder and programmer. He's obviously brilliant. I'm talking about Zuckerberg, but
Sure.
you know, he's built something that he had an idea. Somebody gave him an idea and he built it. Whether it's true or not, we'll never know. But it sounds very feasible. And you know, somebody like him who's built everything based on this guy's two brothers' ideas.
Yeah.
Or the twins' ideas.
You watched
he built
watched that
everything,
film, right?
Yeah. Social networks, right? So he's obviously built everything, thinking, well, I did everything. Now it belongs to me. But yeah, you can see that character. You can see it. You can see that character in him.
Yeah.
Now, when it comes to like everything else, who knows? Did he get lucky? Did he not get lucky? But he's obviously super talented, very brainy, and he's obviously built one hell of a company. He's still one of the richest guys in the world. And he sat in front of Congress. He sat in front of whatever committees that he's always getting pulled up on about data and this and that. And he just gets through it and he cracks on. So
I kind of look at him and Elon as Lewis and Max Verstappen, like rivals head to head, always competing against each other to sort of one up each other, which is kind of nice.
But look at the difference in wealth between the two.
Massive, yeah.
There's
between Elon and who's richer? Is it Mark Zuckerberg?
No, Elon.
Elon.
Yeah.
But Elon's an innovator and a risk taker. I can't see. Obviously, Jeff Bezos as well is an innovator, but I don't look at.
He's gone completely cool. He just now he don't care.
Gone off the radar, yeah.
He's off the radar. He's got a stacked physique. He's probably taking a lot for that. Living the life, living on his yachts and just enjoying life. He can't be bothered.
He stays out of it. Yeah, I think when you get to that level, you can either be a part of it and not a part of it. Obviously, you've got guys that.
I think he's just figured out he wants to enjoy his life and he can't be bothered to do anything more because Amazon
runs itself.
I use Amazon all the time. It's so easy to get everything you want from Amazon and they're so good.
I worked for them as a delivery driver for like 6 months during COVID because I was bored.
Yeah.
Their system they have is relentless.
Yeah, it's brilliant. It's brilliant. And they give you your money back when you want returns. Everything gets picked up. It's just easy. It's so convenient.
You're looking at, and this is one of the really interesting things, obviously, that I didn't tell you we're going to talk about today. But obviously, you know what service as a software is. So SaaS companies. Yeah. So I think obviously the day and era that we're in, moving into obviously Amazon, which they have an essence of a SaaS company, which is the Prime subscription, which not a lot of people use. This is the sort of the next big industry, which is sort of they're incorporating into crypto, they're incorporating into lifestyle. Obviously, you've been seeing a lot of what's happening throughout the world because you travel to Europe, you've been all over the show. Where do you see like SaaS companies, subscription-based services sort of exploding within the next, because I'm sort of watching it at the pinnacle before it sort of explodes. Have you been noticing it quite a bit or what's been your...
Subscription companies, Netflix, and Netflix exploded over COVID, as did Prime, all the TV, right? Then so did online trading. Because people were bored and they didn't know what
Forex
to do.
And
all trading. Sure. Every stock market, everything went. The volumes went higher during that period, and I know because we also have our own trading app. So, I could see.
It's your gold trading app, right? So the buyers, the gold traders can buy.
They can trade
spot,
gold, silver,
for sure. And you created that from scratch.
Yep. Or we bought the system and
made it 10 times better.
Yeah. So these things will happen in different times. But if you can find a subscription service, and there's thousands, all these social media apps, everything works on subscriptions, right?
100%.
And it's only small amounts of money. It's not large amounts of money. So you don't think you're going to miss anything, but you suddenly have 10,000 people on your app and you're getting, it's like OnlyFans basically, right?
Yeah, but without showing your bits.
So a good SaaS system to run would be OnlyFans, pretty much, because you've now got a girl, she's got 10,000 people paying her $10 a month. So that's $120 from one guy. Multiply that by 10,000 and she's suddenly making $1 million.
A month?
No.
A year, sorry. Yeah, 1.2 million a year, but 100K a month is 120K a month from 10,000 people. So it's
insane.
The world is moving that way. The question I'm sort of bringing up to you is, do you see the sort of the crypto space and even the gold space moving to a subscription, like automatic buying of gold or automatic buying of crypto?
Yeah, we do
as a
that already.
subscription?
Funny you mentioned that.
That's why I'm sort of bringing it up, moving into that world of people just sort of not missing that $10, but all of a sudden the $10 then accumulates, and in 5-10 years time they have all of this gold that they've got as an asset that's now increased in value. That's why I'm sort of bringing it up.
So actually we do that as well.
Okay.
We have a agreement with a company in Kenya. We're just building some of the tech behind it, but effectively they can just press a button and say, okay, I want to put $20 a month or $10 a month into CGT or any gold-backed asset token.
Sure.
And that's it. It goes into the system and it's continuously buying, and that's it. The system starts. So we're not only speaking to telcos, we're actually speaking to some funds to say, okay, you want to create a saving program. Instead of doing the old way, the buying a kilo and then splitting it between 1,000 people to give them a gram each.
Yeah.
Let's do it like this. We'll give you a better price. We'll do the vaulting. We'll do everything. It's on blockchain. The record's available. It's immutable. It's real. Everything. You'll get all the audit trails. You can have all the paperwork. You can come and see everything and make sure you can touch it and feel it. But ideally, we're already down that road. We're just working on a couple of. We're working on the fact that we need to make the transactions smaller. That's the difference.
Okay. What do you mean by smaller in terms of
like $10, $5?
It's quite hard to buy gold at $10. I think the cheapest
It just doesn't exist.
Yeah.
So, but because CGT is a crypto, you can do it. So we're just changing some of the decimal points. It's
okay.
Fine. It's not. It's very simple.
So you're allowing people now to buy fractionalized parts of gold, which has never been done before.
No. It's been done. It's just not been done en masse on a massive volume where we're moving. Because as an example, one of the companies we're working with, they have 1.2 million users. So once we enter that agreement, we need to be able to supply 1.2 million micro bits, because they might just say, okay, fine, we're going to allow everyone to buy $5 a month. So that means we now have to have the system running. All the on-chain has to be gas-free, so the charges are not passed on to the client. We need to have the gold readily backed up, because it's now coming in smaller increments. So maybe we'll have to wait till the order is done, order book is fulfilled by the end of the day.
Yeah.
So we can back it up in physical gold and take an average of the price and put it back in. So there's a few
stumbling blocks.
Technical things that we just need to consider before we go down that road. But it's 100% in the it's in the view.
Interesting. The one of the main things I wanted to ask you, obviously, I know we were talking about the US token being, obviously, the US being depegged. I know we spoke about this last time we were here, but what if all of a sudden, which I know is sometimes not possible, maybe we can just break it down a little bit for people that don't understand. What if by tomorrow the American system said, you know what, we're now going to back all of our money back on gold, and let's say your people are still buying CGT token, but there's not enough CGT token. Is it that CGT token will just stop and you can't buy any more? There is only the specific amount of it, or how would it work? Or is there
so CGT is only minting what we put in the vault, right?
Sure.
So that you can't change that. We can only issue what's already been vaulted. For America to rebalance the books and go back to the Bretton Woods system or the gold standard is, again, impossible, right? Early in the 1900s, I think it was Roosevelt that wanted all the gold back of the country and said, we need to back our gold. That's not going to be possible, because you have $35 trillion worth of debt, and all the gold in the world doesn't equate to $35 trillion.
So
unfortunately, it's like 12 trillion. And that's just really, way out the ballpark.
Yeah.
And apart from that, they don't hold all of it because that's spread around the world and it could be anywhere.
There was so much controversy in the comments when we said America doesn't have the biggest gold reserve anymore, and everyone was getting so offended. But it was so interesting.
You just need to look at a history. Fort Knox, after they showed their vaults, I think in the 70s, 73, 4, it was all this kerfuffle with all the media being there. It showed one room with a little bit of gold or whatever it was.
Could you imagine if the room's empty, Nick?
It was all a media sort of frenzy to prove there was still gold.
Sure.
A lot of the gold is held by is on behalf of the other countries. And no doubt, they may or may not have gold. But, if you can sit there and say, even if you're the biggest holder of gold and you have, let's say, 10,000 tons, it doesn't equate $35 trillion. And like I said, all the gold in the world is only worth now $12 trillion. So how much can they have? Do they have all the gold in the world? No. And even if they did, you're not in a position of power to back it up.
Yeah.
So what I think the Kennedys now running or jostling for the position as president, for the next president of the US, he's suggesting, gold, silver, platinum and Bitcoin as now the new kind of Bretton Woods and backing system, which will never happen, by the way. Can't do it.
With platinum, why is... Obviously, I get that gold is shiny and it's been a historical thing, but obviously platinum is worth pretty much just as much as gold, and I'm not aware of it. But is there more platinum or less platinum than gold?
Probably less platinum. Also, its conductivity, its uses are different. Gold is more, it just has more uses.
You can use it for everything. And platinum's an extremely hard metal.
Like an ounce, the statistics of gold are crazy. We've been using gold as to put in your mouth as an example.
Yeah, for sure.
Because of its non-corrosive properties for thousands of years. 1 ounce can stretch into tens of miles. Like 1 ounce if you put it into a thin wire. So the properties are completely different, and that's why one is valued more than the other. It just has more uses.
More uses. Yeah, okay, makes sense. And then moving on to that last thing you said, which is obviously running for president. Do you think Trump's going to win this next election? Do you think he's...
Well, he's just been indicted again, right?
I think they're just trying to bury him.
Yeah, of course. This is all perhaps the left trying to squash some of the things that he's done, but let's not minimize what he has done.
Done great things. I really think he's a good lad. I know he's a bit sort of like on the border, but I think he did good things for the country.
Debatable.
Okay.
I don't think he's all bad, but I don't think he's all good. What he did, basically telling people that the election was a fraud, he pushed a lot of people to the Capitol Hill. And that doesn't go away. People died. People committed suicide after that. So that was a sad thing, that actually a president is saying everything was false. This is fake news, fake. And then people who ran up on Capitol Hill. That was just that was crazy. That was just the worst thing I've ever seen.
Have you ever been to Washington, D.C.?
No.
Yeah, so I've been, and it was only recently when I went that you actually get the magnitude. Like, that place is humongous. The amount of acres it stretches over, to see that many people going onto the Capitol building is pretty nuts.
And, continuously, see, all the other stuff is just political jostling. That's all fine. But, basically, you've got a load of Trump supporters that are diehard fans. And he said it a million times. I could shoot somebody on Fifth Avenue and I'll get away with it. And perhaps
doesn't help himself.
Perhaps he said it as a joke, but if the jury members were Trump supporters, he probably would get away with it. And, you've got to understand the problem with some of the supporters is they just don't want to see any other side except for his opinion. So, if he says black is black or black is white, they'll just listen. And that's not
Take
really...
it as gospel, yeah, for sure.
It's not really politics. And then one of the things I actually hate about politics in the US is the nepotism. You've got now Kennedy back in. You've got probably not this year, in the next 8 years, or you'll have Ivanka Trump as a president for sure, or one of the sons. Yeah. It's a no-brainer. This is the problem. I always say, why does it flow in that way? Why politics is all about nepotism? What makes one father and his son become a politician? Because it's power.
Yeah, definitely.
People love power.
I agree with you. People love power, but you know what's been really interesting about living in Dubai, and I think we're sort of gonna finish up on this, is that the people that live here, the king and queens and the king and princes, they very much care about the people. Like I was listening to the king of Dubai, and he said, he was speaking to an American interviewer. He said, "Why are you trying to do this so quickly?" He was like, "Why wouldn't I want to make my place the best for everyone to live in and my people to live in? And why don't we do it right now? Why can't I see it while I'm living, not in the next 10 years?" And I think it's an interesting dynamic to see how the dictators like to rule their country because they want to make it better. And if you look at pretty much all the Western places, it's people trying to control their power and thinking they have the right point of view, you know?
That could be. I'm not sure. You know, I always look at Western politics and I find that, you know, the countries without an autocratic system don't run well. And a decision maker, especially a good decision maker, can make or break a country. And this is why Western politics are failing, because where you have Congress or a House of Commons or a House of Lords, and then you have the federal system, or basically you just got consistently, no matter what you say, your rival is going to say the exact opposite, whether he believes it or not.
Yeah.
And it's just so
Waste of time.
draining on, like, I don't, you know, if you watch Prime Minister's Question Times in the UK on a Wednesday, it's draining. No matter what he says, he'll say, "I want to give £1 million to every poor person in the world." You're a scumbag. You know, it's just like, what can you do? You can't do anything right.
Yeah.
And then see, that's the problem with a lot of the Western politics. No matter what you say, the person will do the exact opposite. You can say whatever you're doing could be 1,000,000% right, but your opposition's job is to discredit and make you sound like you're doing a bad job.
It's a bit like your kids, right? You tell them not to do something and then they do it anyway because they think they know better.
And this is why that style of politics doesn't work, and nothing gets done. That's the other problem, right? Nothing gets done.
Procrastination.
So you look at the system, or NHS, or, you know, why it's failing, because nobody can agree on the budget. Nobody can agree who are we going to give more money to, the nurses, the doctors. Okay, inflation's at 3%, but we'll raise their wages by 2%. So all the nurses and doctors go on strike, and this
The UK's
happens.
gone nuts at the moment with everything, the crime, the interest rates. It
just doesn't work.
Yeah.
You can't have 10 people making a decision, like the cabinet, right?
Yeah.
You just cannot have so many people, you know, as they say, too many cooks.
Too many cooks in the kitchen, spoil the dish.
Or, too many chiefs, not enough Indians. It'll never change, unfortunately. That's how it's going to go.
I think let's see how the next 5-6 years go. I think once all the other countries see how Dubai and the Arab states start running their countries, they're going to start to make a big shift. I think that's what I view. I'm not sure if you think the same thing.
It may take a little bit longer, but I think the Middle East will flourish.